Omagyanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvisheshunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Vanchagalpadurubhashcha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everybody. We are redoing Yaksha Prashna in summary because very soon Tulsi book is publishing the Yaksha Prashna in 10 to 12 days. So Priya Chaitanya Prabhu requested that we can summarize, because almost like 5 to 6 years ago I had done 4 sessions on Yaksha Prashna elaborately. Yaksha Prashna in the Mahabharat, what does it depicts? Yes, the story is there. Pandavas were on their move, going from one place to other place. There was a prediction by the Devatas and everybody that no power in the world can stop them from growing. Right? Now, was it a prediction? Was it a blessings? How much are we supposed to trust such kind of blessings? Because when you see life as it is, life and blessing sometimes they have a clash with each other. So this period when Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he saw, right, all of his brothers, the great Arjun, Bhima and Nakul and Sahadev lying dead on the bank of a lake. And when Yudhishthira Maharaj came there, the background was he was thirsty like hell. Now it was like fasting for 3 days, Nirjala Ekadashi. When you consciously fast, you can do it for many days. But when you're thirsty, where you want water, and you have been brought to this situation only because you are trying to fulfill the basic necessities of human existence, that is jal, that is samanya dharma, right? When he is not able to fulfill the samanya dharma of drinking water, and he sees 4 of his brothers are dead, and then he is not allowed to drink water also, because he hears the embodied voice. If you drink water, you will experience the same fate as your brothers. Now imagine how many emotions he must have gone through in one go. When people got to know, I remember one family lost 4 of their members in the plane crash. Right? It's a you cannot process it. When you cannot process, you cannot speak. What to speak of speaking, wisdom. Just imagine. So here Yaksha, come as a Pakshi. He is challenging, you can't drink this water unless you answer my questions. And these questions are not, they are supra rapid fire. When the rapid fire is happening, the person who is doing the rapid fire, the person who is facing the rapid fire, they are heftily paid. Their life has nothing to do with, at least in that stage of their life, there is no challenges. It is only the pain of might not do good. I want more number of people to see this. In this rapid fire, if Yudhishthira Maharaj makes the blunder, he will not get to drink the water and he will not know what is going to happen with my brothers also. Therefore, wisdom decided the destiny. not buddhimata, not information, not knowledge. What was going to define was the wisdom which is spontaneous. Right, nowadays all of us, everyone uses chat GPT. Even the most complex question, if you ask, and if you know what is the background of that question, you understand some probability of answer, it can give you great answer. But the problem is, in all this situation, the person who is giving the answer is bereft of feeling. Wahan bhavanaएं nahi, there are no emotions, there are no sentiments. Right? Therefore, one great philosopher, he explained, other day I wrote article on yoga day, quoting this famous German philosopher. He said, what is the speciality of Indian thought, Indian psychology? No, we are not here to say everything is good. किसी भी प्रकृति में, any society, any civilization cannot ever claim that we had no issues, because we live in the dual world. There is good and there is bad. There is potential and there is a limitation. That is an accepted reality. Any civilization you study, every civilization for that matter will have something to say good about and something to feel shame. Right? But the overall picture of Bharat, the German philosopher, he said, what India is driven by intuition and inner satisfaction. What is the West is driven by intellectualism and external growth. That does not mean that India doesn't want external growth. That does not mean that the West people do not want inner growth. The overall presentation. Intuition, what does it do? Intuition gives rise to seeing harmony everywhere. Intellectual, without the wisdom, gives rise to see everywhere conflict. Therefore, you take any subject matter for that matter, there is an entire ecosystem which flourishes. The mob and the capitalist flourish on the principle of creating dissension, disruption. Right? But when you hear Yudhishthira Maharaj's answer to Yaksha, they are brilliant. They are timeless. They are profound and extremely simplistic. And the way Yudhishthira Maharaj answers. Imagine somebody making a drama, not just 10 minutes, like in B.R. Chopra's drama, the question answer session. Of course, it was a greatly done, the overall, but that part is not so profound because they did not delve into the dialogue between the two, making many episodes, ek prashna ko lekar, each question, right? Yudhishthira's spirit. And one of the question, our Yaksha asked him, brilliant question. What is the question? He says, what is the death of a human and what is the death of a Rashtra? Right? One is the death of a human being and the Rashtra's death. Who is asking this? Yaksha. Who is Yaksha? He is Yamaraj. Whom does he ask? Yudhishthira Maharaj. He is the personification of Dharma. He is a dear devotee of Krishna. Our Yamaraj is one of the Bhagavad. But what are they dealing with? They are dealing with the everyday reality. Whether you believe that this world is Nashwar or whether you believe this world is illusion. You know, we can have battles about whether it is fleeting or imaginary, that battle will continue. But either you believe fleeting or imaginary, both people need on a day-to-day basis certain things to stay alive, right? That you cannot avoid. Pani, water is required, air is required, food is required, evacuating is required, responding to the call of nature. Some good feeling of interaction is required. It doesn't matter what you believe in, but these are the things you require. So what does Yudhishthira and Yaksha focus on? They focus on the so-called apparent, but within that apparent there is a substance also. They are able to see divinity in Vyabhar. So therefore, when he asks this question, what is the death of a human being and what is the death of a kingdom or a Rashtra? What an answer. Yudhishthira said, my dear Yaksha, the death of a human being is poverty. And death of a nation is anarchy. Arajakata in Sanskrit. Arajakata. Now think about it. When one can say as a philosopher, we are not interested in feeding people because you are already fed. That is not our idea of doing any good to others. Yes, but the concept of feeding has to be happening, whether you do it or somebody else does. People need to receive their basic necessities of life, and when that basic necessities of life are not provided, roti, kapda, makan, a human being not only feels hungry, he or she feels suicidal. It is an insulting to their very existence that they are not able to provide a little food, water and shelter. Right? Imagine in that time to tell them you are not this body or Atma, it is another added insult to them. Ek to khali pet hai. Right? So imagine how great philosopher Yudhishthira Maharaj gave very simple, profound answer. Therefore, when he asked, what is happiness? I'll come to the king back. He said, what is happiness? Yaksha asked him. We can give the definition of happiness based upon a higher realities of life, which is also very important. But here Yudhishthira Maharaj, how realistic Yudhishthira is, even though is deeply spiritual. So the definition of happiness what Yudhishthira gave to Yaksha is that, my dear Yaksha, one who can eat food cooked within their own home. Food cooked within their own home, that is one step for happiness. Keep observing, the entire world is eating not cooked in the home, but cooked outside the home. Second, he said having no loan, no debt. Somebody said debt ka ऋण का भाव होना चाहिए, ऋण नहीं होना चाहिए. Do not carry the burden of loan, because when you have a loan, you do not reciprocate with people. There is no chance of reciprocating. You cannot pick up people's phone, you cannot pick up people's call, you cannot respond to the message of people because you do not have the power to reciprocate. Somebody said in India, those who give loan to others, they need to explain in great detail why they need their money back. So that is the second thing said, when you don't have a loan and you are eating food cooked in your very home. And the third, another most important is that for you to be happy, if you can avoid traveling long distance travels. If your work is close to your home, you're eating food cooked in your home, you don't have loan in life, that is happiness. Right? Simple but very important principle. And therefore, when he talks about, one is what? Poverty is a death of a man or a family, and arajakata, anarchy. What we don't see in the present world, it is not manifesting as an anarchical state. It does not manifest that, there is everywhere pandemonium, recklessness, difficult challenges, right? But if you see the nature of the people, the nature of the people in this world is that if somebody is running things efficiently, there is the fear that this person might become a dictator. People fear recklessness. People do not fear recklessness. People do not fear corruption. People do not fear, broken mandate. Imagine what kind of consciousness psychology one has developed, but they fear clear ruling system. Even we are not saying this system or that system. If somebody is following nicely, giving benefit to the state and to the country, that benefit, that stability causes great anxiety to the people who are woke, liberal and left. ये कितना बड़ा दुर्भाग्य है देखो. And top of that, if your country has the issue of anarchy, our neighboring country, imagine what must be going through. Therefore, one officer, Navy officer or Air Force officer was telling when he was part of the Peace Corps in Congo, he said, then I realized what it means not to have a state or a government. What kind of situation you go through. He personally experienced that. So therefore, these two things, removing daridrata and removing arajakata. Therefore, Krishna, when he speaks about yada yada hi dharmasya glani, why does he come? He comes to establish dharma. Dharma means balanced life, right? So that is dharma. And then Krishna, Yaksha asked this question, how do you get help? आपको मदद कैसे मिल सकता है? In anything of your life. If you want to study extra, if you want to get money for some investment, if you want some food from somewhere, you want to travel somewhere, how do you get help? Again, Yaksha is asking this question to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Sounds very mundane, but still it is very real. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, being the king, he said, courage attracts help and assistance. एक मांगने की क्षमता, asking, bargaining. Right? I want to study, can you give me a seat here? What they might still maximum, they might say, okay, we are not going to give you. Hundreds of people in this world lose the opportunity because they are not trained to ask in a judicious way. There are some shameless people, right? They will choke you, they will basically suffocate you, so shameless, right? That is their condition. But there are many people who have the capacity to contribute to their own self and to others, but they are shy to ask. Verbal communication they cannot do. They are embarrassed. They have the adventurous tricks also. Imagine how Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, courage attracts help and assistance. No? And then he asked another very interesting concept, that how you become buddhiman. Right? The art of becoming buddhiman. This is an also very profound answer given by Yudhishthira, that you become buddhiman not only by reading. Reading has to be done. But one becomes buddhiman by interacting and serving the elderly people. Vriddha sevaya. Vriddha means mature. When you serve vriddhas, right, now people hesitate. I remember talking somebody. There is a school where the rule of the school is that the parents who send their children to this school, they should not have grandparents in their home because they are a bad example. Hundreds of young people, right? What do? Outright condemnation of their elders. Again we said, no civilization, no phase of life can be completely correct and completely wrong. This is not even critical analysis, this is slander of their contribution for the reason you are speaking in English in a social media platform. Using their own resources, your grandparents' resources, your parents' resources, where you have not started developing your own resources. You went to the college. That is the problem with Indians. When they try to imitate the West, only half. When the resources, that has to come from the parents. When it regards responsibility, you don't poke your nose in my life. I'll manage how I want to manage. So when the Vriddha Seva has not happened, the wisdom does not develop. When the wisdom does not develop, then one's decision is extremely deceptive to oneself and to others also. It's very destructive. It does not give rise to happiness. Therefore, it's important that one understand this principle of Vriddha Seva. And that is one of the greatest poverty in the modern world. The greatest poverty in the modern world is the grandchildren have hardly any access to their grandparents other than going for some outing. Whenever they meet, it's not about the grandparents and the grandchildren. It's all about them going to some place where they can consume. They can consume beautiful thing. They can consume the resources. They can consume their camera shooting hundreds of photos, but never spending time with each other. Another beautiful thing, Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked by Yaksha, what is the devatva of a Brahmana? And what is his Sat Dharma? What is Sat Dharma? And what is this humanness? And what is Asat for him? 4 questions he asked. What is the divinity of a Brahmana? Now here Brahmana means an educationalist, a teacher, right? Even for that matter, Guru, anybody who teaches Brahma Janati, Brahmana. Janati or trying to understand, trying to grow there. What a profound answer Yudhishthira Maharaj gave. I love this answer. He said, Devatva of a Brahmana is Nitya Patan. Right? Always studying. Swadhyaya Esham Devatam. The Swadhyaya Esham Devatvam. Jitna Swadhyaya. There is no end to how much you can study the Shastras. And as a teacher, he is a more student than his own student. When you stop learning, when you stop growing, when you stop exploring, when you stop discovering, then what does it do? It makes you redundant. And what does redundancy do? Redundancy gives rise to, fear of losing on people. And when there is a fear of losing, then we tighten our grip around others, not allowing them to think. But if you are continuously learning, then there is no fear only, because there is nothing more sublime than knowledge. Like Krishna says in the Gita, one who is situated, api chetasi papebhya sarvebhya papakritama, one who is situated in the boat of knowledge, transcendental knowledge, he can easily cross over. Right? So that is the devatva of a Brahmana. So if you do not find any Brahmana was not continuously studying and growing, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है उधर. And what is his how do he become Mahan? He becomes Mahan by basically doing tapasya. And what is the death of a Brahmana? It is only dying is the death. Death is the limitation. What is humanness? Death is humanness for a Brahmana. And what is death for a Kshatriya? What is humanness for a Kshatriya? It is not death. The humanness for a Kshatriya is not protecting people whom you have promised that I will protect. There is a distinction between the death of a Brahmana and death of a Kshatriya, and Brahmana's tapasya, Brahmana's devatva, Brahmana's manushyatva, and Brahmana's accusation are all connected so beautifully. They are integrated, they are not separated. But the most important part, as I said, learning can never stop. The learning stop, you cease to exist. So, martial education is a godliness for a Kshatriya. Right? Those who claim Kshatriyas, if you do not know the art of defending others through the martial art, then you are not true Kshatriya only. Your Kshatriyatva is only exhibited in the rituals. Shooting guns during the marriage ceremony, displaying big swords during the marriage ceremony. Yes, they are symbolic, they are important, they are good. But that is not the purpose. The purpose is this one, where he has the opportunity to respond to the distress call of people and goes and protects. Therefore, to do that he has to be fearless, and fearlessness comes from martial art. Like if you read Dhanur Vidya, it makes it very clear, only if you want to practice ahimsa, ahimsa can only be practiced when you know that you have weapons, they know that they have weapons, you have weapons. Both the parties. Pakistan will not bomb, knowing very well that India has a nuclear arsenal. India will not escalate too much because they also have the bomb, nuclear, right? So, imagine for a Kshatriya, when the warriorship is there strongly, he practices ahimsa much greater than he talks about it, because it's self-sufficient. It doesn't fear anything. And what is this Sat Dharma? Sat Dharma of a Kshatriya is Yajna. Of course, he would do Yajna also, but his greatest Sat Dharma, Yajna, the word Yajna is connected to offering, bali chadana, tyag karna, sacrifice, right? You know what? The rituals are very easy. One can hide one's limitation behind the rituals. We are not saying that one should not do rituals, but how we take shelter in the rituals, because substance is a hard labor. Go Brahmana Pratipalaka. Krishna is the protector of the cows and an intellectual class, right? So imagine you are offering a milk to the Lord. You know very clearly, Krishna, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shivaji, when you offer them the milk, Abhishek Kile, which milk do you offer? Anyone who is doing puja, they know that we offer cow's milk. But how many of the pujaris ever worry about whether it is actually milk or not? Whether it is coming from himsa, right? How in the world Krishna will like that, knowing very well that milk is coming from a slaughter cow, and you are doing abhishek on my body with that milk, thinking that I am very happy with you? I have an objection for this, right? It cannot be possible. Therefore, here yajna of a kshatriya, what is it? It is not simply offering obeisances. It is taking certain responsibility. Therefore, in the modern world, if you want to side, whom will you side? Will you side Israel? Will you side America? Will you side Iran? Will you side, some other countries? China? Whom will you side? Most of our siding are done out of prejudice. Right? Most of them are done out of prejudice, not science. If somebody is properly scientific, right, then what happens? That buddhi caused by proper sensitive philosophy does not allow anybody to be reckless. Rather than doing yajna, we see Pashu Bali happening all around us. Pashu Bali not only bombing, Pashu Bali is not only aborting. Pashu Bali wherein you have to wait for line years together in solving the legal dispute, you never come out of it. No? And the people who have promised that will deliver you better systems, we understand their compulsion, right? But there is no enough investment in doing that. Why? Because they don't want to do. Karodo cases hai. So what does it do? That arakjat tab isliye the kshatriya shat dharma is yajna. And what is his humanness? His humanness is nothing but fear is humanness. Because Kshatriya fights in the real battle. It is not an armchair philosophy. Therefore, there is a pain. And one of the greatest asad dharma for Kshatriya is not protecting those who came asking from you. He is saying that because he has implemented that example. This person who came from a small village, with a arani wood and his arani wood taken away by the deer, he came to Yudhishthira, "Arey, my arani wood has been taken, please chase the deer." Yudhishthira Maharaj could have easily said, he still had 60,000 disciples with him. Right? Snatakas were there. So Yudhishthira Maharaj could have said, "What the hell are you coming to us? We are not small people. This is none of your business. It's none of our business to provide you certain, ordinary wood. Go and find." Right? Because it is their promise they have taken during coronation, during Upanan Samskar. We will always protect those who need our protection. Right? They took the risk of their life. They took the risk of the benediction given by some good person, and they chased beyond that deer to capture the arani wood and give it to the Brahmanas. But this tragedy came in their life where they had to answer. So therefore, the greatest of asad dharma for them is killing of the cows. Sorry, not giving shelter to those who are asking from you. And he asked, what does nourish? He said, rains nourish the farming. And this is the nice one. Second is, cow upholds the prosperity of the town. If you go to any village, you hardly see any cows. But you find somebody who is 90-year-old, 85-year-old, and you tell them the major distinction between the village now and village then. 2-3 major things they will say. बंद हो गया. The 2-3 major things they will say. 2-3 major things they will say. One is, we used to have abundance of cow. Where I grew up, just behind, it was a town, not a big town, but not a village. There was a gully called as Gavali Gully. Right, it was called as Gavali Gully. The entire lane was full of cows and buffaloes also. Recently I said, let me drive through there, and it is simply purely commercialized place. You do not find cows or buffalo, but you can find dogs. Imagine Yudhishthira Maharaj being the king, a realistic king, practical king. He is able to explain the prosperity is born out of the cows, because agriculture, it is so important, and we are not even getting poverty of human being is not about only financial poverty. The poverty of the modern human being is not even eating a food. He is eating things plentifully. He is eating more than what our previous ancestor used. 5 times, 6 times, hotel, varieties. But it is not cooked lovingly, because hardly the families are cooking. Plus it is not grown organically. It is inorganic, filled with chemicals, with the interest of complete commercialization. So therefore, how in the world such people will have the nature of sacrifice to others? They will only see the profit. They will not see contribution, they will only see the profit. Therefore, the cow is prosperous, means town is prosperous. And then another one, he said, what is the highest fulfillment? He said, highest fulfillment is the act of giving birth. Especially for women he is talking about, because they are the one who give birth. Imagine what was glorified when somebody would get married. People would bless them. Ashtaputravati bhava, Shataputravati bhava. It is not about the number. It is about the auspiciousness created by bringing forth in the future a dharmic children. So therefore they would bless like that. You cannot use that verses in the modern place, in the modern world, even out of jest. It will be offensive to. How dare you decide? How dare you decide whether I should have children or not? Why should I marry or not? So people are easily making a choice of not becoming a mother. Easily. Right? This was not the choice. They chose happily. Some, yes, reluctantly, but when they got babies in their world, they had their own separate world also. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj, I am taking few questions here and there, made it very light, Yaksha. He said, which living entity never closes its eyes even while sleeping? No, the egg remains still even after hatching. He asked him, what is that entity? It remains still even after giving birth. And who does not have the heart? He said, one who does not have the heart means he is a stone hearted. That is Bhagavatam, right? But historically, one who does not have the heart, that means a stone. That means those heart does not respond, is a stone hearted. It's one and the same. And how does the river grow? Right? Imagine the entire Pakistan, is in the verge of collapse because the flowing water which is to go on the Pakistan side, India is planning to stop it. It may take many years, right, to build a dam, and then choose what we want to do or what we do not want to do. When a river flourishes, when a river flows, the civilization flows. When the river stops flowing, civilization stops flowing. Therefore, if you read in the Bhagavatam 5th canto, how does Shukdev Goswami define Bharat? There are some pseudo-seculars, some idiotic, our own people. They say the country as Bharat was non-existent. It was only the Britishers. ऐसा कोई देश नहीं था भारत करके. Because what do you have with Mizoram people staying in some corner of the world? What people from Kerala has anything to do with people in Mizoram? What has people from Andhra has to do anything with somebody living in Jammu? कोई connection नहीं. So therefore this whole concept of nationhood is humbug. Nationhood is not defined by the people there. Nationhood is defined by an idea and also geography. ये हमारे Shukdev Goswami is saying this in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam. What is the identity of Bharat? How do you understand this is Bharat? He gives the names of hundreds of rivers. And he gives the names of hundreds of mountains. He does not give the name of a temple. Yes, temple must be there. But the identification of a civilization, especially for Bharat, is connected to the flowing river. जो नदी बहती है उसमें प्राण होता है. There is limitless prana shakti, and when you take bath in that water, how in the world you will not be discreet, sensitive, compassion, kind and magnanimous? Because it's a living water. We bathe from the water where the water is stored in a black tank. Now according to any system, काला डब्बा वो सारे black energy को attract करता है. If you have seen outside the house, people put something black so that all the dark energy could go there, and then it does not come inside. Right on the top of our house, we store this dark color syntax box, exposing all the energy. I am not giving confirmed, I am just hypothesizing. Imagine the difference between drinking a river water and drinking water from the synthetic box. So pran, where is the pran to reciprocate? There is no pran to reciprocate. Therefore, flowing water is connected to mental stability. Flowing water is connected to great relationship with mother. The flowing water represents the great relationship to motherland. ये सब कुछ युधिष्ठिर महाराज कहते हैं. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked, who is the friend? Two friends he talks about in two different places. One is who is the God-ordained friend, and who is the friend in the home. Who is the friend during travels? Who is the friend during sickness? And who is the friend during death? He said, when you are traveling, your fellow passenger is your friend. When you are in the home, it is your wife or a husband is your friend. When you are sick, a Vaidya is your friend. And when you are dying, charity is your friend, Dana. Imagine the concept of charity in Bharatiya Sanskriti was always decentralized. There was no mega charity. The charity is that I staying here could handle 2-3 people around me. Right? The schools were also managed by one teacher, 10-12 students. They would get to study. If they get to do something higher, then go to the higher teacher. Therefore, there were 500,000 gurukuls. Why don't you see their building? Because it is not the building. It is the substantial teacher who would be teaching them. So therefore, traveler, the fellow traveler is a friend. In death, the charity is friend. If everybody does their quota of charity, the society will develop its natural concept of social security. Therefore, why does Prabhupada writes in one of the place, taking care of children, what do you gain out of that? Nothing. At least when you are investing in them, you are not going to get anything. In the future maybe, right? Investing where you don't know what could be the result, but that builds the civilization. When you see that there is lack of utility, one may say, no, we love our children. No, we don't. We see them as profitable or loss making. We all, nobody exception in that, because the civilization is built like that. A child has become a costly affair. A child was a treasure because education was never charged, right? And because there was a charitable disposition, you'd always give wealth to education centric activities. Children, old people, they are the one who should be listening to the great story of Bhagavatam, and they will listen carefully. They are on the verge of moving to the next stage of their life. Cows should be protected, women should be protected, old people should be protected, and knowledge should be protected. These are the 5 pillars of growth, and these 5 pillars are non-existent, right? This is what he asked 5 questions. Then about why being the friend in the home, and then where does dharma reside? No, he says dharma, very powerful. Where does dharma reside? Dharma resides in dakshata and rujatva. Beautiful. Expertise and simplicity, when it is harmonized, that is dharma residing for sure. Not only simplicity. Simplicity without expertise, stupidity, and dakshata without simplicity gives rise to arrogance. Therefore, Yudhishthira harmonized between dakshata and rujatva. And dana gives success and fame, again empowerment. And satya, not pakshapat. We are doing next month 4 sessions on debate. The culture of debate, the psychology of debate, the history of debate, and the philosophy of debate. And the skill, yes, but if you learn this 4 principles, it's very beautiful. Such great literatures are there. So Satya is the bridge to Swarga, and the Shila gives complete satisfaction. And then he asked, what is the process of collecting resources? He said, Samarthya is the best way to generate wealth. जिसके अंदर सामर्थ्य है, वो धन संचित करता है. We are not only talking about money, every kind of dhan. And knowledge is the greatest of the wealth. We remember, Devatva for a Brahmana is continual study. And greatest wealth is the knowledge. And you know what is the greatest profit? Yes, wealth generation is happening. The greatest profit is health. And from that perspective, the modern society is a loss-making venture. जिस समाज में, doctors are nothing because they are doing their work, right? When the doctor lives like the king, there are millions of people wanting to be the doctor. This was not the reality previously 100 years ago, because being a doctor means it was finding the patient going to a difficult places. अभी रोग एक commodity बन गया है, right? The industry is sending their sales people to deal with the patient, not to heal them, but to manage their disease. And therefore it is explained, Vidya or Arogya was never privatized. It was the responsibility of the high class, transparent people, where they were remunerated by the society, not as a fee, as Bahuman, as a Dakshina. Right? Health is therefore greatest profit. And satisfaction is the greatest happiness. Right? He spoke, he kept on speaking many more things. our book on Yaksha Prashna is coming within week or so. You can go through it. Beautiful questions asked by Yaksha and profound answers given by Yudhishthira Maharaj, which shocked him only, but their eternal vibration of reality. And after speaking all that, Yaksha told Yudhishthira to drink water, and then he said, you can choose one of your brothers. Which one will you choose? Now for Yudhishthira to choose, it is there in the legacy of the Pandavas. Like Arjuna was asked to choose between Krishna and the Sainya. Arjuna chose Krishna. Similarly, Yudhishthira was asked to choose between his brothers who are resourceful, very powerful. Bhima had taken a vow of killing 100 Kauravas. It has to happen, unless they go, the kingship will not come to the Pandavas. And Arjuna is a relentless warrior. He fought Lord Shiva. He went to heavens, where Indra allowed him to sit next to him. What was not possible for the Devatas, Arjuna did by killing Nivatta Kavachas. What are resourceful brothers. And if you are a king, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are asked, which brother will you choose? Because we are driven only by pure profit, gross, obsessive profit, we will not think but that only. But we have seen Yudhishthira is practical, he is realistic, he is smart, but at the same time he has a substance also. He cornered Yaksha in a very positive way. He said, I will choose Nakul over my own brothers, because I am there as the son of Kunti and I need son of Madri. So that is the fairness. And then he said that famous Dharmo Rakshiti Rakshataha. Jab Dharma is protected, you protect Dharma, Dharma will protect you. Dharmo Hanti Yato. When Dharma is slaughtered, you will be slaughtered. It's a direct connection between the two. Therefore, when we become obsessively selfish, unreasonably illogical, blindly loyalist, we are not adding value to those people whom we are loyalist. We become burden. Right? We become burden, and eventually our decisions themselves have the power to destroy us. Right? When Yudhishthira Maharaj boldly, without any fear, he placed that gamble. Right? I want Nakul, not Arjuna and Bhima. There must have been an inner confidence. He must have been assured about the blessings given by superiors, that you guys will not be killed abruptly. Alright, because all of these resources he was seamless to ask. It was not even an examination for him. It was simple. Right, it was simple. He said, I want Nakul. Yaksha removed his disguise and he revived all his brothers and he gave him the benediction. What was the benediction he gave? He said, what benediction do you want? He asked. So Yudhishthira said, my dear father, my dear Yama, I may be freed from all kinds of limitations, the negative limitations, right? Greed, nastiness, he asked. And along with that, he received the benediction of, even if they expose themselves, go around exposed as they are, nobody will recognize them. That benediction he gave. As we have discussed many times, the Pandavas, they took the blessings of Yamaraj. But as part of the human endeavor, they decided to part from their guru Daksha. Daumya Rishi Dhaumya Rishi was much greater teacher to the Pandavas than Dronacharya. Most people don't even know about this. Dronacharya did not add much value in Pandavas' life other than training them in skill. But Dhaumya Rishi stayed with the Pandavas before their marriage, after their marriage, when they were coronated as King the Chakravarti, when they lost everything in the gambling match. Dhaumya Rishi did not give up because he had taken Pandavas as his student. It didn't matter whether they remunerated him or not. That is secondary. So Dhaumya Rishi only for 1 year during that incognito. So if Dhaumya Rishi is there, the Pandavas will be recognized. Dhaumya Rishi, he separated from them. Pandavas came disguised in the place of Virata. The inner confidence was there. We will not be caught because our great Yamaraja said, but the human beings, they went through the challenges, the uncertainties, and maybe getting caught. This is the beauty of life. Even after having such a benediction, they did not stop becoming humans, right? And then eventually they stayed there for that 1 year, and they came back as undisputed king of Hastinapur, supported and encouraged by Sri Krishna, and they ruled for many, many years. Thank you. Any questions or comments? अनम्यूट नहीं किया क्या? किया किसी ने? What is exactly meaning Daridrata? Daridrata is not simply poverty of finance. Daridrata is poverty of wealth, poverty of relationship, poverty of good food also. All that falls into the category of Daridrata. But the gross meaning of Daridrata is basically having no resources to manage your roti, kapda or makan. No, that is the most important Daridrata. And the fear of Kshatriya, like I remember asking one famous army Air Force officer he fought 1999 Kargil battle. We asked him, sir, आपको डर नहीं लगता है क्या? You don't get fearful? He said, how can anybody ask that question? He said, fear is a human quality, right? He said, as a warrior, we have, few more ways to overcome the fear of death, but fear is there. He said, when I flew first time, using my plane, alone flying, now this is not a sortie, this is the battle. And when you are fighting, when you are taking your fighter plane, nobody is around you. Imagine you are in the sky alone and then you are surrounded by your enemies. So fear is there. So here Yaksha was told by Yudhishthira Maharaj, the humanness is the fear marks is humanness. मनुष्यत्व ही उसका weakness है. Yeah. Oh, what is asat for a Brahmana? Sorry, asat for a Brahmana is Asat is accusation, when he is accused by the society. You know, imagine nowadays, whether you are a good Brahmana or bad Brahmana, there is a systematic, planning. Imagine, yes, you separate. The Shastras give separate. You catch a criminal, he could be a Brahmana. We catch criminals. We don't catch people from particular community. But a person who is learned, educated, sadachari, uske gotra ko, uske group ko, you cannot undermine them systematically. That is very bad. Learning of Brahmin is just spiritual or everything, means every subject, even material, as you say. There is no, if you study our Shastra, Om Purnam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, if you study our scripture, Yaksha Prashna, how much do you think there is a distinction between spiritual and material? When you are living a life, for a person who understands Dharma, Adhyatma, his entire life becomes spiritual. So whatever is required, if you are studying medicine, one may say this is my material life. In Sanatan Dharma, we do not make a distinction between my church and my home. Right? And therefore, every aspect, keshu cha bhaveshu, chintosi bhagwan maya. Arjuna asked this question to Krishna, I am a worldly person, how will I remember you in all different things? So what did Krishna say? Beautifully explained. Yadyad vibhutimat sattvam. And therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says, I am the capacity in a man. When you exhibit your capacity, that is also a representation of God. Good digestive system is a representation of God. Know the art of debate and conclude it properly, that is a representation of God. When you drink water, when you feel the taste of that water, that is a representation of Krishna. Krishna himself is speaking. Imagine the limitless ways of experiencing Vishnu, Krishna, Hari, right? Even when you do your kshamata, when you show your kshamata, that is also connected to experience. So therefore, Gita in living does not make that distinction. As you start growing, looking for mukti, natural mukti, then slowly that is not which is required. It will anyway move out of your life. I am working in agri sector for betterment of Indian small farmers. But neither farmers are benefiting nor I am benefiting. So, recently we are also working with, we have a school in a village run by some friends. That school is basically focusing only on the farmers' children. If you study, again, unfortunately, it's a very scary, painful reality where when you are farming, the politicians are the only true farmers because they are the only make money. Rest of the farmers, the number of people who make money in the farming, their number is minuscule, very less. It's a bechara kind of job. If you actually calculate, just like if you get a job in a government job, everybody knows, okay, if you get this job, that means you are settled. If you get job in MNC, you have some kind of stability. You make a home, you make this, you make that. But with the farmers, we are making cricketers. Yes, I love playing, but we are investing where? We want to make gold medalists in Olympics. Well, how colonized our mindset is. That is such a tragedy. Right? Yes, we need to play, but investment in playing, large sum of money to make a gold medalist. No, we invest in playing. Let children play. Invest money in making children play rather than investing concentrated money to get one gold. That's such a colonized mindset. हमको अमेरिका जैसे गोल्ड जितना नहीं, बच्चों को खेलने के लिए कुछ करो. Open more grounds, right? The villagers, उनके खेती के लिए जो करना चाहिए. Like there is on this, so these are farmers' children. Our goal is to see that they remain farmers, but not only emotionally. You can't tell them to stay farmers because it is great to be a farmer. It should be a profitable. Therefore, Chanakya says, Dharmasya moolam artam. The dharma ka mool kya hai? We always say dharma is the mool of everything, but here Chanakya, again using Mahabharat principle only, dharmasya moolam artam. So there has to be a great revolution in this regard. Great revolution has to happen on this regard. And people are trying to do in their small, but as I said, our attention is not there. Our resources are not invested. Any our rich people would prefer giving to a future gold medalist in some stupid sport, a commercial event, rather than wanting to grow good food. कहाँ पैसा कहाँ दे रहे हैं हम लोग? कि दे रहे हैं? Again, as I said, if they win on their own, because our country cannot afford to concentrate a commercial sport at the cost of millions of children not playing. Our society cannot concentrate on eating high dine at the cost of not producing. We want great festivals. We want amazing festival decorated with the flowers, but we don't want to invest in planting the trees, which Krishna did in the 10th canto. Read 10th canto Bhagavatam, how ecologically and spiritually they are interconnected. In Dwarka, the Lord would always plant the trees and excavate the well. So therefore, it is not the state, it is not the bureaucrats, it is the society which is responsible, because the bureaucrats and the politicians come from the society only. Therefore, Plato said a state is synonymous to the mindset of the people. No blaming of any politician. We blame them because they are visible. Yeah, dharma resides where there is competency and simplicity. Wrong. In scripture, most of the time, dhan is for Brahmin only. Is giving to other means meaningless. Imagine a poor Shudra is wrong. Please show scripture where it is said only the Brahmanas are supposed to give. In the Jyotish Shastra, right? In the Pancha Rana, Rishi Rana, Bhuta Rana, then Devata Rana, then Pitra Rana. There are charity for all of them. In Bhuta Rana, all the living entities. When you actually study astrology, then you realize, wow, in astrology, if you are going through the Shani Bada, the better charity is to give to the underprivileged people. You begin with that, then you feel, wow, empowering anybody for that matter. Right? Why they say generally a Brahmana? Because Brahmana is supposed to take charity. Brahmana is supposed to be, it's like a banker. He takes from people and he would supposed to share with others so that his life remains simple. It's not that for money the dana was for him, because he would interact with the society. He was a Purohit. If I give it to him, I know it should be given to others also. But since some of the priestly class got corrupted, they started concentrating wealth and not sharing with others, and therefore people started feeling, oh, they made all this scripture just to take charity from everybody else and fill their pocket. No, sir, that is not. The wealth was given according to the need for education. In Chanakya writes in Arthashastra, the taxing of the farmer was there. 1/6 when the produce is there, he has to give. What is there now? It is basically pampering some class, then squeezing some other class. There is no proper involvement of the citizens in regards to growth. The citizens also want to exploit as much as possible. There are some citizens are forced to pay, and there are some citizens are forcing the state to get pampered themselves. So even if you are a farmer, if Chanakya was the minister, he would say 1/6 if you are making money, you have to give. Next year, if you don't grow anything, then he would provide special resources for, means the insurance was there from beginning only. But if they make profit, they have to give. There is no such thing as you are pampered because you are a farmer and you are despised because you are something else. No, there was equal responsibility of contribution, and there was equal responsibility in regards to empowerment. This was the beauty, and therefore, yes, charity, do not see like that. It was not. It was always wherever the resources need to be given so people can grow. There is no greater charity. If you can empower one person in your life, two people in your life, in whatever field they are good at, there is no greater charity, along with the Gita into them. So then what happens? They are empowered, and then they experience. You experience in their empowerment manifestation of Krishna, because he is saying like that in the 7th chapter. Shabdake paurusham nrishu. I am the ability in human being. And when you see that ability manifesting with the philosophy of Gita, then what? Tasma sarveshu kaleshu. There is a remembrance of God, and there is also ability to stand and be courageous for growing oneself. Thank you for your kind attention. We'll stop here.